Hey there, hi there, hello there. It's your girl Emma Faith with a quick little episode of a Blessed Hot Mess podcast. I figured I would record real quick while I was driving. There was just something that was on my mind. If you find that you are putting out more than you're receiving, stop. I'm a giver naturally, but I literally had to stop giving so much when I realized I wasn't receiving the same in return. And to be more specific, I'm the type, I go all out for people's kids. I go all out for people's birthdays. I go all out for my significant other, for my in-laws, for friends, etc. And I never get the same in return. And not necessarily for me, but really for my kids. That's what bothers me more than anything. If I sit there and I go out of my way and I always show up for your kids, and this goes for family and friends, and it's sad because even my parents, and God rest my mother's soul, but she would get to where she would always like rain check my kids, like, oh, and her excuse would be, well, they're spoiled. They have both their mom and dad, and they're spoiled. Your kids have too many toys anyway, so they're not going to miss anything from me. And that used to bother me so much because I would see how it would affect my kids. And it's not necessarily about the material things. It really is the thought that counts. I'm the type, I like to give people cards with money on their birthdays, however old they are. If your kid is 3, 5, 10, 15, 18, 21, that always works. You know what I mean? Just give them the amount that they're turning. So it's not always about material possessions with me. It's not always about toys and gifts and how expensive it was. Because like I said, I appreciate things from the Dollar Tree just as much as I would appreciate $100 bottle of perfume or something like that. But what's so crazy is I had to dial back. You know, and it's sad when you have to change your own nature and your own way of doing things because you see that your efforts and what you're putting out is not being reciprocated. After a while, I know it's a godly thing to give. It even says that in the Bible, to give more than you receive. But after a while, you get pretty burnt out when you realize that you're the only one that's giving. When you realize that you're the only one that's giving and that people are taking advantage or that they expect more from you than what they're bringing to the table or what they're doing, it gets a little bothersome. It gets tired. It gets tiresome, and it gets old. After a while, it gets old. And after a while, it's like I found myself like being annoyed and then having to be specific. I'm not the type to be like, oh, well, get me this or get my kids this. But after a while, it's like I would have to try to remind, like even my dad. Like I said, I'm not trying to get too deep, but I even stopped talking with my father, stopped speaking to him because he's so fake on social. He'll be telling everybody happy birthday, relatives, cousins, his other kids. I don't have a relationship with some of his side kids, and that bothers him. So he would like take it out on my kids. I would notice he'll ignore my kids. He wouldn't acknowledge them. He wouldn't tell them happy birthday. Some years we're talking and he'll send them money for their birthday. Some years we're not talking and then he'll totally ignore my kids. And I'm like, whether we're speaking or not, that should not affect your relationship with your grandkids. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's as low as you can go. And even with my in-laws, when me and my husband split or when we would have problems, they literally, well, my sons are old enough to keep in touch with them, but my daughters are not. And they're like annoyed that I'm not the type to just drop off my kids for the weekend. I will never drop off my kids. My mom never did that with us, and I will never do that with my kids. I don't get tired of my kids like some of these hoes. I love spending time with my kids. So no, I'm not dropping them off for the weekend. No, I'm not dropping them off for a week. No, they're not staying at grandma's house for the weekend or a week, 2 weeks. My in-laws, like some of my sister-in-laws, they would drop their kids off with the mom, and they would be there for like a week or two, a month at a time. That's crazy to me. That's just not how I was raised. That's not how I operate. That's not how I get down. And so, like I said, and then that would cause them to tell me, oh, you're stuck up. You don't want the kids around us. You think you're too good. You think they're too good to be around their in-laws. No, it's not that I think I'm too good. That's just not how I operate. You know, my kids are not going to be spending more time with somebody else than they spend with me. I don't believe in that. And any of you broads that drop off your kids, and any of you broads whose kids spend more time with someone else, the babysitter, daycare, the in-laws, your auntie, your mamas, you really didn't need those kids. You didn't need to be a parent. You're not cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean? I have reached my destination. That was quick, huh? Everything's close out here. That's why I love it. But yeah, but just to, and like I said, it's just crazy because I've had to change my nature and had to change the way I do things because, like I said, I'm naturally a giver. And since I have cut back on giving so much, I have saved so much money and energy and resources. And it's crazy when I start counting up all the money that I was just spending on other people, and my kids included. But my kids, their budget is endless. I will spend anything. Uh-oh, Pops, what you doing? Look at him. I think he's lost. He's looking for his car. I will literally spend anything on my kids. No amount is too great. I will literally, there's been times when I would be broke. I will go pawn some jewelry just to go get birthday gifts and things like that. Or, there's nothing is too big or too small for my kids. And then sometimes my kids, like, they'll just want something from the swap meet or from the Dollar Tree. My kids are not materialistic like some of these kids these days who do not appreciate the little things. I would advise you to make sure, like I said, even though I buy them things that would be considered expensive sometimes, and I'm not talking about no Gucci or no Versace or nothing like that. That's just ridiculous. You guys people who spend on designer are just dumb. You're just dumb. You're just doing that for show. Some of that stuff isn't even as good quality as some Fashion Nova or some Nike or some Old Navy. My kids still love Old Navy. They love Nike. They love Vans. I cannot stand materialistic people or materialistic kids who think the more expensive the better, because that is never the case. That is never the case. So the point of this quick little car podcast, I might start shooting a couple more in my car, keep it quick, is just to be a giver. But sometimes when you're a giver, you have to set limits on your giving, because the takers have none. Takers have no limits. They just want more, and more. And some people will be sitting there counting your pockets, or they will be looking at what you bought for your kids or what you bought for yourself. And like I said, I'm a modest, humble person, but I do like quality things. But you could get quality things at the damn Goodwill. I like antiques. I like old stuff. I'm an old-fashioned type of girl. Like I said, I'm different. I'm built different. You know what I mean? And like I said, gifts aren't always the answer, but it's good to receive too. It feels real good when you feel appreciated. Like I said, I'm the type, you could give me a card and it would make my day. Flowers, something from the 99-cent store, and I'm not going to sit there and be like, this looks like it's from the 99-cent store. No, it's always the thought that counts with me, but some people don't operate like that. It's sad when you have to try to force people to treat you right. It's sad, especially when it comes to relatives, and especially when it comes to my kids. I turn into a demon, okay? I will literally never talk to you for the rest of your life if you act funny towards my kids. And like I said, I really had to cut back on buying things. There's still a couple of my nieces and nephews that I send gifts to. Like I said, I love giving people gifts. I love making people happy. And even though I grew up poor, my mom and dad would always get us gifts. Like my dad, even though he was an asshole sometimes, he was the type of dad, he would get us stuff for Valentine's Day, Easter, whatever holiday, our birthdays, of course, Christmas. He would give us money for our report cards and stuff like that. And like I said, but the thing is, he's not consistent. He wasn't consistent. And then sometimes he'll disappear for like 2 months. We won't hear from him for a couple months. And that's how he is, like I said, nowadays with my kids. And I'm just like over it. I'm just like I'm over a lot of people and a lot of bullshit, and I don't have time for it anymore. And excuse my mouth, because I usually try not to cuss on these, but I'm just like over it. I had to cut a lot of people off. I had to stop doing for people who weren't doing for me. And like I said, even though it's the thought that counts, sometimes when you realize that you're spending more and you're giving more than you're receiving, it's time to cut it out. And with that being said, like, share, subscribe, and follow me on my YouTube, my Instagram, stream ENDOZHA on all sites. And have a good day. I'll holler back.